Yeah, you go through pool play.
And a good morning. Glad to have you. We're just kind of getting started here. In case you haven't noticed, it's raining.
What?
Thought I'd bring that up.
What?
It's breaking news. I like to keep our audience on their toes, make sure they know exactly what's going on minute by minute. And the deluge has begun, just in case anybody's wondering.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it is wet out there. And I'll be honest with you, today's weather, to me, is almost or pretty close to the worst we've had because I don't like the constant mist, fog. I'd just soon have the downpour, I think. That's
summer.
just
Downpour. Summer. Let's go.
but it's just been summer 2 days. That's a little too much.
Duh.
No, I'm sorry. It's only been summer, not quite a full 24-hour period yet. My bad. I thought we'd had summer more than that, but no, we haven't had summer. But just summer officially began yesterday. I want to say at 10-something maybe.
Yeah, on the calendar, but it actually begins June 1st.
Well, yeah.
No, I mean
psychologically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But you can go theoretically. You can go to the mountains for the rest of summer, and you won't see a 90-degree day. But what one that we've had so far? Does that sound
Here
right?
we haven't had but one here.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So if you go up there, retreat for the summer. That's incredible. I can't think of it. I was talking to somebody yesterday. Had a meeting office. I was talking to a client that is local, whatever, out of Winston, and she's saying I don't ever. And she's in her late 50s, early 60s. She said I don't remember a summer or beginning to a end of a spring, being a summer that's ever been like this. Lanny,
we usually go immediately from one to the other.
Right. Even though we have 4 seasons, really got like.
We got to where we only had 2. We had winter and summer.
Yeah,
we didn't have much.
Quick,
we didn't have much spring and I've said this from the beginning. I just can't believe somewhere in July and August we're not going to pay for the great weather we had through the spring. Now, the extended forecast says below normal temperatures and above normal precipitation. Right. Which there's a good example. I think we've got enough rain to last us like August to 10th right now.
In El Nino, are we in that?
I don't know.
I haven't even been paying attention.
I don't even watch the news anymore.
Oh.
Don't. If a breaking headline comes across, I'll look at it, but it's the same crap
narrative
every day.
You don't watch the narrative anymore.
Correct. That's why I don't watch it, because it's not news.
Right.
Richie, good morning. Milton, good morning. Yeah, Richie said Wake and LSU play tonight to go to the championship. Yep. So that's it's been a very good. I've enjoyed it a lot, and that's not something that I can say a lot about baseball, but it has really, really been good baseball, and it's
been enjoyable.
It has.
Yeah.
It has. You still have to worry a little bit about the weather that they get out there, because they can get some pretty severe storms,
tornadoes, man.
Yeah, and they kind of blow up out of nowhere. That's the other side that you don't really understand. So LSU stays alive, and they'll face Wake, and I'm guessing it'll be another night, 5-2. Wake got up 2-0 fairly early.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Will Florida clinch their spot as they beat TCU? I like TCU. I guess I like the coach because when I was watching that game, he played with one of the guys that was part of the announce crew or something. They had a history. And, they'll do those in-game interviews, and that's pretty neat. I mean, he's talking, then before they went away, so, well, thanks, Coach, for joining us. Say, hey, we've got to get out and play some golf now. Let me know when you get out and play some golf. I mean, I like that personal side to it. That's why one of the things that I like about the XFL and USFL, whatever they're called, you got some interaction there. Makes you a part of it. Makes you a part of the game.
Be a part of the game instead of just watching the game.
And that was something that NASCAR added to try to help bring things back. Was you could get a scanner, you could listen to the in-car radios, the traffic going back and forth, which is pretty nice as well. All right, so there will be a rematch tonight.
Yeah.
And the winner will advance to play Florida in a best of 3 championships, so 2 out of 3. And Wake is 54-11, number 1. This is their first loss in 8 games in the tournament.
Yeah, they haven't lost.
They didn't lose in regionals, super regionals, and this is the first one they've done it. They have not lost consecutive games this season. at all. And they're trying to reach the championship round. That'll be their first appearance since the 1955 team won the title.
So, and the 1955 team. So there was a gentleman, if Bob's listening, I'm not sure if he is, but he would know him, that used to help Coach Swink some in the summer. His name was Charlie Miller, I believe.
Not Charlie Young?
No.
The attorney? Okay, because we had Charlie on.
Oh, yeah. I know Charlie. Charlie Miller, who is much, much older. He has since passed.
Mm-hmm.
He was, but anyway, he would come out some in the summers, here or there and help us with Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Just help us with BP and things like that. But, they talked about the differences between that team in 55 and this team today, and how when they hit the ball, they just wanted to get through the infield and get on base. And that's what Coach Miller taught us, down through the ball, kind of the Charlie Lau theory. Hit the ball on the ground.
Small ball.
Hit the ball on the ground.
Manufacturing, yeah.
Right, instead of hitting the ball in the air, which is, science has kind of flipped things.
It'll come back.
On some things. So, but I bet Bob knows him and remembers him, and I need to ask him about Charlie Miller.
Okay, this is the biggest thing, and they were talking about it last night before the game got started. The biggest thing that has changed with Wake Forest between regular season and even the first games of the season of the tournament, they had 75 runs and hit 19 homers in their first 5 tournament games, all played at home. They have just 8 runs, their fewest over 3 games since April of 2021, and only 1 homer at Charles Schwab Field, because the wind has blown for 3 days and it's come out of the outfield. Yeah. And there's a lot of balls that in other parks would have been out, but not out there. They're only batting .198, and their leading hitter, Nick Kurtz, is 0 for 9, and Justin Johnson is 0 for 12.
Yeah, that's obviously not, indicative of what they have done all year. And the wind, it's like you said, being in the Midwest, it is completely different. I mean, being like, for example, in 91 at Wichita State, all of a sudden the sky starts bubbling, right? Playing in a regional, and starts bubbling, and you're like, whoa.
Well, and the other thing is, and this is one of the things that's always amazed me about baseball. Baseball is the only sport where the official field dimensions are not standard.
Correct.
The only sport.
Now they are in the infield.
Right, but I'm talking about
infield,
I'm talking about
the outfield fence.
Yeah, and the Wake Forest plays on smaller fields. Is it 412, 420 dead center in Omaha?
Yeah,
I believe that's right. Something like that, and like 315 or something down the lines.
Yeah, which is short.
Yeah, but dead center, which where you're really seeing deep. A lot of these balls go, is deep.
Yeah.
It is really deep. Wilson Boyd, good morning. And Milton said, welcome to Seattle weather. Never been to Seattle, but I've heard that. And or you're over in Europe. Wilson said, big game pitching.
Yeah.
And a lot of players, 7 o'clock tonight. And Wilson said that rain in Omaha is treacherous.
I mean, it
is. Is it all natural turf, or is the grass artificial and just the dirt is still dirt?
Golly.
I want to say the outfield is grass.
Rosenblatt obviously was grass. I didn't even pay attention to that.
And I hadn't, Milton said Nebraska's pretty flat. The Omaha landfill's the highest peak in northern Nebraska.
I guess you don't pay attention anymore to that because there's so many places that have turf, or maybe the infield is. I saw something interesting. It may have been at Averett College last summer, but they turfed everything around the infield, all right? But the infield grass and the outfield and everything was grass and dirt. But they turfed the whole sideline up to the field. It was really interesting.
Okay, let's see here. Says they play on field turf, according to what I'm seeing here.
And that makes sense. I mean, there's no reason really not
Well, out
to.
there, it's hard not to because of the way the weather comes in.
Well, Laney, it's either invest in that or invest in the suction system that the Braves, were so famous for, putting under the field. And, Oh my gosh,
like a green is,
we'll
like
never,
a golf green is. It's got the drainage.
We'll never play for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
and then the Braves put this suction system in that, I mean, you like cut it on and it pulls the water down through the grass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm looking here to see. Somebody's got to know more about it than I do. Still looking.
What are you looking for?
To confirm what the field turf is.
Pull it back. Look right there.
Where?
Keep going. Just see if you can make that big. I can't read the words. See if you can make that big.
No, it just says tournament.
It won't click big.
Yeah, but not enough.
Let me look.
It looks like real turf by the lines. Well, and if you look at the cut on it today, last night, it's not like that. It's almost a diagonal cut.
That looks like grass to me.
Yeah. Somebody smarter than me is going to tell me.
It's weird, though, but I've never really paid attention to whether it is
all dirt and grass. Richie says it's all natural.
That makes sense because of the cross cuts they got.
Yeah.
And they made some kind of design the other night.
Yeah, it was out in the outfield.
But it's funny that you never pay attention to it because now it's just like, well, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I bet they do have that system in. But was it Wilson that said, talking about how treacherous the rain was? Yeah. I mean, he's right.
Oh, and it can dump a ton.
Yeah,
it can dump 3-4 inches in a matter of hours.
I was telling
out
you
there.
about my dad, Coach Morris, who, coached in Miami all those years, and my dad's fraternity brother. Well, another friend of my dad's coached at TCU, and they played in the World Series, and Dad played ball with him and Rick Jones, and he said it was absolutely kind of what Wilson's talking about. He said it just comes out of like nowhere, man.
Yeah,
and the sky starts like bubbling.
Mm-hmm.
He said it's just really.
Well, it's like Milton said, it's so flat there's nothing to slow it down once it gets built up. Now, I've got just I'm a limited baseball on my limited baseball knowledge. The infield, okay, where you've got dirt between first and second and second and third. Yeah. Does that have to be dirt, or can that be grass? And you just have a dirt path.
Yeah, no, you don't have to have a dirt path.
Really,
there are high school fields down the eastern part of the state that Bermuda.
Yeah.
Well, the only dirt, there's 5 circles.
Okay.
There's one at home,
at
mound,
the bases,
first,
and
second,
the mound.
third, and then they cut the grass down.
Like a golf course,
right? But the Bermuda, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Bermuda down there is like this.
Yeah.
We're up here, maybe a little thicker. But I've seen maybe 2 or 3 schools down the east over the years that have done that. But the maintenance is so much better because then, especially if you got a field that's halfway sloped at all, you just go out there and throw quick dry or kitty litter or whatever you want to throw on the base paths. After it rains, you can pretty much play.
It seats 24,000 out there.
Oh,
formerly
incredible.
TD Ameritrade Park, Omaha, is now Charles Schwab Field, Omaha.
Yeah.
But a great place. And in case you didn't know, it is just on the edge of Nebraska.
It should be. You're talking about the border of the state?
Yes, or the field. According to this map, let me back up here. Right there. It's just it's on the eastern end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So and it's been there since 2011.
Yeah, I think they started construction in like 8 or 9, maybe 10, something like that.
Record attendance was back in 15, 28,846. It is 335 down the left field line. Left center's 375, center field's 408, right center's 375, and the right line is 335. So at least it's a
bigger park.
Yeah, but it's at least it is consistent in right and left field where a lot of parks aren't. Yeah. I mean, look at Fenway; they had to put the green monster up because they didn't have anywhere to go.
Something. Locally, whenever we get started on that, left field's going to be we're going to have the pesky pole in left field.
So it was
it immediately goes about. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? And Wilson, obviously. Followed him growing up and watching him play, and Coach Kraft and all these guys. But he can tell you, and would probably agree with this. Just experience through playing ball. It's really neat to be able to play in the different parks where things aren't the same. And it's like when you go to football stadiums. The one thing that you talk about when you came to Maiden is, it's just different when you play at home, when Maiden plays at home, back in the old school, right? And we talk about stadiums with football. Oh, have you ever played in that stadium? Dimensions are the same, but the stadium's what made it. It's kind of that way in baseball, even though your outfield dimensions are different. It's that feel and that aura, and it was just really neat to play in a lot of different types of ballparks.
Can you have
just the experience of
Can you have different distance between first and third base line to the stadium wall and the space behind the shortstop? I mean behind the catcher. Can that be different distance?
It's supposed to be 60 feet to the first. Supposed to be, but we all know that many stadiums are older or just constructed with. You just play with what you got.
Right.
And it's like Quinn, for example.
And you see it especially in high school.
No, that's what I'm saying. But Quinn will play tomorrow night at Jack Hughes Stadium down in Charlotte. And that backstop is not 60 feet by any means to, from home plate to the, to the end of the backstop. It's, like 25 or 30. I'm okay with that.
And it makes a difference depending on if you have a wild pitch.
Well, that's the whole point, right? You're going to score on a wild pitch.
On 60 foot.
Yeah, with those. And a lot of times, and I got to tell you, Wilson played, a lot of college baseball and, played in, for a great man and, got to play in a lot of neat stadiums, but he can tell you that there's a lot of excitement when it's not 60 feet back there.
Yeah.
And it's how big a lead, a secondary you can get or anticipation or, looking 5 feet out in front of home plate to see if the ball's, going to be a dirt ball or not. And you kind of get that anticipated jump and how fast the guy on third is. And it just kind of where not anybody can score, but only the fastest guy can. It's kind of fun.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, I'm going to get your opinion on the balk. There were 2 balks the other night, and I'll tell you why they were called, and then you can explain it to a non-baseballer. Back in a minute.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com.
Stifel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stifel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange.
Welcome back. Before we went to break, I said I was going to bring up a question. I saw two balks. I guess it was night before last when I was watching. And morning, Stephen. It was the TCU game, and I cannot remember who TCU was. Stanford. I guess it was TCU and Stanford. And TCU was batting. Whoever it was they were playing, they called two balks on the same pitcher, but it was two different rulings. The first one was he didn't step off the rubber, and I think it was a move to first.
Why were they saying he had to disengage from the rubber to throw to first?
I don't know. I mean,
you don't have to disengage to turn and throw.
Okay,
that's a big myth. Like stepping off and then turn and throwing. You can just turn and throw.
And then the other side,
I don't know why that would be a balk.
Good morning, Brian. The other side, the other call was he made a throw to third. You saw him step off, but the call was he didn't make a legitimate play to third because the third baseman didn't even know it was coming.
Yeah,
he had to react and catch it, and it was a lob.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's different. That's
soft
different.
toss.
Yeah, that's different. So you got to be able to. Like make it a fluid, looking play. That's like, I was telling a couple of weeks ago, there's a left-handed pitcher we were facing. This 20 years ago, and the first baseman was up in the grass playing for bunt, and the damn guy throws it over to the first baseman 25, 30 feet in front of the bag.
Right, that was
and they don't call
tell
a
me
balk.
That story. Yeah,
and I'm losing my mind. I'm like, what in the? Of course, I'm 28 at that time. So
yeah,
a little hyper. God. They're like, Coach, it's not a balk. He threw to first. I'm like, he's 25.
Well, and that's where this came from on the call on the 1 to third.
Okay, I got you.
And then there was another play, and I can't remember.
Is that Rivera right there?
Yeah,
that
Josh
kid's
Rivera.
a great player.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There was another play on the balk that they had to go back and review it, and I want to say that when he threw to first, the first baseman missed it, and it was a guy on third, and he ran, and they went back, took that run off the board because they said that it was a balk and not just a throwaway ball, on the throw, which made it 4 balls, which meant the guy on third couldn't advance.
That doesn't make any sense.
I know, now, and I don't know baseball.
But this is the thing with that. And I missed that part, okay, but just talking here through it, normally a balk in years past has been a delayed dead ball in higher baseball. What does that mean? Okay, well, they in Legion ball, just giving you an example, 30-some years ago, 33, 34 years ago, we're playing Hickory. Kid comes set. There's a runner on second. I'm at the plate. He gets ready to do something. The umpire screams balk. Well, this kid still throws it, 87, 88 down the middle of the plate. Well, I park that thing in left center field up in the trees, and I'm just standing there. Because my dad always taught me, no matter what happens,
continue to play
through it.
Yeah, and then sort it out later.
Through the whistle, through the call, not stop at it. Okay, no problem. Well, I did that, and I'm just standing at home plate. And Swink starts screaming at me, go ahead, run. I'm like, he called a balk. He said, delayed dead ball. You get to choose which is better for you. Now, apparently, when they called a balk now, it's dead because if it was delayed dead ball, it would be the result of ball 4 doesn't mean you stop. It just means the runner advances to first, and if there's anybody in the base pass preceding him, they move up. So there's nobody on second is what you're saying.
No.
All right. So, so it's first and third. Well, that makes – well, then that guy unless you kill it right then, which is entirely possible, okay, then that
well,
guy –
they let this play out, and then they went back and sorted it out.
Right.
Okay, and then they
that's
put
the
him
way
back
you
on
should
third.
do it, right? They're doing that in football now too, but, you know, with the replays. But you know, it used to be where you got to choose – whichever one you wanted, because if they threw it away at first, the guy running to second,
that's right,
obviously makes it to third and runs,
that's
scores.
Right.
Nobody, you know,
right.
the offensive team says we'll take that play instead of having bases loaded and have to go back. But if it's a dead ball, which sounds like that's the case now, and I haven't looked at it.
I just see pieces, then, you know.
No,
I don't know what I'm looking at.
These are good questions.
I just try to understand.
And it takes a lot of that because it's the intricacies of baseball. Because there's so many stats, it makes every situation different.
Right.
Where in football, when you tackle a guy, it's a great tackle.
Right. That's right.
When you catch a pass, good job.
Right.
When you run a touchdown, good.
Right.
And
there's multiple moving pieces.
In baseball, like Wilson can tell you, all right, let's say he's playing outfield, all right. He catches a ball, and the guy's tagging from third. He throws it home, all right, great throw. Well, the guy from the cutoff guy, like the first baseman, just an example, cuts the ball and throws it home. They get him out. Well, then the guy on second who didn't tag decides to, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to try to get back and tag and go to third. Then the catcher throws it to third. So there's multiple parts to every play. It doesn't stop until it stops.
Okay, then I'm going to ask you a question.
That's called an 8-3-2-5 for
because I've never understood this. Okay?
Play.
Let me ask you this. I've got a man on third.
Yep.
Okay. I've got a batter who hits a dribbler to third.
Okay.
Okay. 2-away. He makes the throw to first.
Yep.
Gets him out.
Yep.
But the guy on third crosses home before the out is made. Why is that not a run?
It's a force out at first base. That's why.
Okay.
On a force out,
okay,
your rear end, that's it. You know, just like in your scenario, let's say it's first and second, or first, second, and third, and a hard ground ball is hit to third. He plays it off his chest. The kid from third scores, but he picks it up and tags third before the boy from second gets there because run on first, it's a force. Run doesn't count.
Okay, let me reset the scenario. So, how about there is let me see. I had this in my mind. It's got to be a force for it to die.
Yep,
that's
correct.
Telling me?
That's correct.
Okay. So if there's a guy on third, nobody on first and second,
right,
and the guy goes to, they make a throw to first, he misses it.
Yep.
But he's got the right fielder, backs him up. Guy from first takes off to second. The right fielder throws to second. He's out for the third out, but the guy from third scored.
Correct.
That run does count.
That's correct.
Okay, because it was not a force. Okay.
Yeah. And that'll help clear up, you know, a lot of the confusion on why certain runs can score.
I thought it was all about timing.
And that's, I can understand that, but that is, like you said, you know, when it's a force, that's it. Okay. The other thing is a lot of times in baseball games, you'll hear the umpires say that run counts. That run counts.
Yes.
That means, to your scenario, let's say there's a guy on second, base hit to the outfield, base hit. He rounds third. He comes in, okay. All of a sudden, he gets in a pickle, okay. Well, the guy from first takes off to second, and they think, well, we're going to get him now that this guy's made it back to third that was in the pickle. Well, the guy from third takes off home. He scores before they get the guy out running between first and second that are now in the pickle. He'll say that run counts.
Because that was a timing thing and it was not a force.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that helps, right?
So it's only on a force, and it can be a force at any base.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any base, even home.
Okay, so it's
Third,
a force.
Okay.
You know,
second. Base is loaded, ground ball, second base. He flips to shortstop for whatever, you know, if he's going, you know, ball's hit towards second, he just flips it to him. Out, innings over, no runs.
Milton said, like some of the windups in the majors were very close to being balks, which made me think of something, Milton. There was that other balk that I was talking about. I'll tell you why I think it was called. I think, does a pitcher have to notify the umpire when he's changing from the windup to the stretch? Okay, there was something about that happened in the game too, and I can't remember what they called it.
Talking about is a lot of these guys will go to the windup, and it looks like a deliberate deluxe, full field stretch, right? And they're doing all these weird different things. None of that really matters if it's consistently weird. And what I mean by that is consistently
every time he does it,
unusual doesn't make it wrong. It's like when an ugly play in basketball happens, everybody's screaming, "That's a foul," or "He walked."
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's ugly doesn't mean there's anything wrong. Sometimes it's just ugly.
Yeah, but there's no walks in basketball.
Yeah, right. And especially in youth league.
European.
Youth league and in
European step.
And in an NBA. Well, that's wording, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the new thing.
Now, Andrew said does the same works the same on the double play, correct?
Correct.
As long as both are a force.
Force out. So, great example. Let's say there's bases loaded. Okay, ground ball hit the second. There's one out. He turns and throws to second. That guy's out for out number 2. The run from third scores. All right. Guy at first is out. No run counts. However, if the guy at first beats it out,
yes,
then obviously because there's not a third out. But you see what I'm saying. But how about this? He beats it out, but all of a sudden the umpire says he missed the bag, and the guy at first touches the bag, but the run from third scored. Now what happens?
Then the guy at third would be out because it was still a force.
There, Lanny, my man.
Call me Mr. Baseball. Just call me Mr.
Fantastic.
Baseball. I'm all over it.
Now, if Wilson's still listening, he would be very proud right now.
You just do not know how small my baseball knowledge is.
That's great.
And
that's good.
That's
good.
If you've got a runner that on first and he's taking a lead and he thinks a ball's going to drop and they make a diving catch or whatever, and then he hustles back to first, do you have to tag the runner or can you just tag the bag?
If he doesn't tag up, you can tag the bag. But how about this? Pop fly like that, first and third, one out. Okay, one out. Guy from first takes off on a steal. Ball's popped up to the infield. All right, in between infield and outfield. No, it has to be first and second before it's an infield fly. So first and third. Guy from third's tagging. All right. The ball's caught. Guy from third tags. Scores. Okay. Boy from first doesn't make it back. They throw it back to first, because he was stealing. And they get him before he got back. What is it? Does a run count?
It shouldn't because it's a force.
Right. Now, how about this? What if he gets in a rundown and they tag him instead of tagging the base?
Then the run counts.
Nope.
Really?
Yep, because it's still a force. You don't have to touch the base for it to be a force.
Okay. I got you.
It has to be a forced play, not necessarily a forced out result. Excuse me. Let me back up. It has to be an out, but how it happens doesn't matter.
Gotcha. Andrew said you need to run Game Changer for a 12U team. You'll learn every scenario possible.
Andrew, look, he was – when we first started doing this a few years ago in the Bull, when we started Garrigan Bull's team over at the lab, when we first started up, Andrew said, I'm going to run Game Changer. I thought, thank God we got this. Man, I tell you what, dude, he come to me one day, he said, no. He's like, I'm learning this stuff. He said, but what about this scenario? I mean, we came up with some funky scenarios, especially in 11, 9U baseball, right? Incredible stuff. So he's had the proper training to run Game Changer because of where he started.
But he's
perfect at
the
it
only
now.
thing about it, and I'll give you an example. When Kiever and Powell were doing the East Lincoln State Championship Series with the 3 games, and even in regular season baseball, they both know baseball. Okay?
Oh,
and they keep a book, but a lot of times when they're not sure, this is how they would score it, but they wait to see how it's officially scored.
Yeah, sure.
So you match up.
That.
So how do you do that if you're running Game Changer and you're not close to the official book?
Well, you are the official scorer most of the time in Game Changer. And I say most time. If you are the home team and you're running that's considered the book, then there was a couple times when Andrew and I would talk about things, and he would go back and change the scenario, like the difference between a hit and a, like an error, or a base hit, giving the kid a hit, but also an error with the throw, or giving them a hit and an error. The kid hit the ball too hard for it not to be hit, because nobody in their human caught that ball.
Yeah, if it were under normal circumstances.
So there's things like that, and I can't remember if when Clint Wilson may have been playing, there was a scenario that Clemson had many years ago. I'm trying to think. Well, anyway, I'm not going to waste time with that. But there was something very interesting that happened. I believe Clemson was playing. It may have been Georgia Tech. But it's been a long, long time ago. But there was a very crazy scenario where they had some interference in the.
He's here.
Field. Okay, yeah. Were you playing? And it was the Georgia. It may have been the Georgia Tech series, but something. God, look, obviously it's a long time ago, but something happened where there was like an interference in the field with something. Like, now I can't remember where it was, but it changed the whole dynamics of the whole weekend series. I don't know if he was playing then, but I remember Coach Leggett talking about that. Golly.
Andrew said it took a while to learn that you can't assume a defensive player should make a play.
That's right, because a lot of times it's based on the fact that
South Carolina and Omaha.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just and he may, he would be good to have on.
We've had him on.
Yeah, well, I'm saying like to go, especially this time of year, to talk about the experiences and things like that, to, and come up with some crazy, crazy scenarios, because you think you've seen it all, and then something happens.
Yeah.
And Joe West, who was the, Major League Baseball umpire, right, for a long, long time, right? He is from Greenville, North Carolina. All right, of course, that's where East Carolina is. So when I was in college, and I may have told our viewers this before, we took a coaching class, as part of our curriculum. They instituted that. And they had Mr. West, we call him Coach West. We had him come in. He was real good friends with our department head. Had him come in and talk to us about officiating and things to look for, because we were all going into coaching. And some coaches become officials, like Frank Snyder was really good. Some other, Tom Brown and Fred used to call. They used to call my Legion games. I didn't even know them then, but no, that was a comedy show too, buddy. They were good, but they were funny. Oh, my God. But anyway, they were talking about all different kinds of scenarios, and Mr. Grimsley, our teacher, our professor at ECU, would have Mr. West come in and talk to us. And he would, like, go over crazy scenarios like, okay, if a spaceship or a saucer comes down and the ball's hit to the outfield, okay, and it hits that saucer, is the ball dead if it's in fair play, or do you just play it off the saucer? I mean, just birds. I mean, he was crazy stuff. So it's just when you think. My point is, when you think you've seen it all, you have not.
Trivia question. When you say that, trivia question, right. Give me the pitcher that killed the bird on a pitch.
Yeah, wasn't that Randy Johnson?
I can't remember. That's a question. Somebody can answer that. We'll take a break. Be back in just a minute.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com. Stifel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stifel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange.
I covered that one, man.
Yeah,
That's
I got a headache. I got a headache. I'm picking up way too much
It's
baseball
fun,
knowledge
though.
today.
Just crazy stuff.
Well, it makes a difference when you see it happen, when you see it in action.
All right, I got one. Everybody ready?
Okay.
All right, Laney got it right. Guy at the plate. All right, let's say Wilson's hitting. All right, and I'm pitching, so it's going to be a pretty hard hit ball. Okay. All right, so Chad, let's do this. Let's say that Chad Mullis, who's one of my good buddies, right, that listens a lot, he's pitching and Wilson's hitting. Okay, Wilson hits a screamer back up the middle, and he hits nothing but the pitching rubber, and immediately goes halfway between third and home into the dugout for whatever reason. It hit the rubber that way, didn't hit dirt or anything, and goes halfway between home and third into the dugout, or just towards the dugout. Fair, foul ball. What's everybody say?
We'll wait.
Fair, foul ball.
It was Randy Johnson. You were correct.
That was I felt so bad for that bird, man. He killed that thing.
And Milton said the big unit took it out and feathered it.
Golly,
it was
dude.
ruled a no pitch.
It's crazy. Oh, we got some stuff.
Because of interference.
Hold on.
Wilson says fair,
and
Andrew says foul.
What did Andrew say?
Foul.
I can't see the spot.
Yeah.
I can just see
Wilson
his name.
said fair, Andrew said foul.
Okay, this is what's crazy. Joe West went over this with us. So what happens is, and Wilson will be like, oh, my God, yeah. Let's say the same thing was happening instead. Let's say Wilson laid one down to third, okay, and it was going and it was fair, and all of a sudden it hits a rock and goes foul. It's a foul ball. Same thing when it hits the pitching rubber. The difference is, yeah, I know it's crazy. If it hits the player, obviously, and then were to go foul, then it's not foul. It's a fair ball. It just goes out of the fair playing zone. Isn't that crazy? What did Wilson say? Did he say fair?
He said fair.
Well, okay, that's what I said when they were telling us, because I thought the pitching rubber would be like deemed a part of the field. So if you hit that, but this is what happens. First and third base in the dynamics of a baseball field, the pitching rubber is actually in front of first and third, which is considered that line. Okay? Once the ball passes beyond that imaginary line between first and third, which the pitching rubber is slightly in front of, then if it hits something and goes foul, it's a fair ball. So just any crazy stuff.
So you got
like
an
that.
imaginary line between first and third that includes the rubber.
Yes,
and it's not straight.
But the rubber is in front of it.
Yeah.
A few, not much, but it is, because the baseball dimensions are not considered
Base
evenly
pads are
perfect.
90 feet.
They are.
And the rubber is 60 feet and some inches.
6 inches.
Okay.
And it's 127 feet and X amount of inches from the back of home plate to the stop at second.
Right.
So what's interesting is when you measure base paths out, you go from stop to stop, right, except home to first and home to third. So home to first and home to third, you go to the back of the rubber instead of the stop. All right, but then when you measure 90 feet to second base, you go to the stop instead of the back of the back of the rubber, back of the base
to the point.
Right. Mm-hmm. Then you go from the back of the base point to the stop at second. That's what makes it crazy.
Trick question for me: how many baselines are on the field?
How many? Baselines?
There would be 4.
No, there's 1. Home to first. All this other stuff you hear about. Thanks, Wilson. All this, and we went over this with Coach West, Mr. West too. We all said there are 4. First, second, third, and home. From third to home. He's like, boys, you're way out in left field. We're like, what? He's like, no, there's only 1 baseline in baseball, and that's home to first. And the baseline is really considered baseline at the 45 feet to 90 feet. When they draw the extra line.
Yes.
He's like, that's the only true baseline. We said, yeah, but what about when you get in a pickle between second, third, or first and second, third, home? They say, no, he's out of the baseline. He's out. He's like, that's the incorrect call. He said, in theory, you could get in a pickle, and as long as you didn't deviate too much, you could go all the way in the outfield in this pickle with the guys, all right, and then work your way back in slowly, and it's still not being out of the baseline thing because the play stayed within range. He said it's when you as the runner deviate way too far out, which they give you about a 3 to 5 foot area to do. That's why sometimes you'll see him miss a tag because the guy deviated out. He didn't go far enough to make it out of the play. There's so many, and no, I will tell you that I would have never known that. 99.9% of the people who watch baseball will say 4 baselines, and they will not understand that you can actually pickle all the way out in the outfield if you wanted to, as long as you don't deviate more than 3 or 4 or 5 feet
per throw.
But nobody's going to call that, and very few pickles happen like that. But that's how crazy, that it can get. And that's why baseball is the most frustrating sport to coach if the umpires do not know the rules. Okay, that's why it's so frustrating. And who in the world can know them all? Mm-hmm. We got great guys locally that are officials. Mr. Klein was wonderful. Mm-hmm. God rest his soul. Mm-hmm. He was really, really good. Football and baseball. But there's just things that happen, and you got to go back to the book. Sometimes you got to pull it out and read it. Mm-hmm. And I was always okay with that. Officials didn't like it if I'd bring it out there and show it. But I'd say, guys, look, we got to go to the book.
I was always told, coaching, never carry a rule book with you.
Well, I did that, and I didn't mean anything by it because I wanted to make sure we understood. It wasn't to show them up. That was not my intent, but that was the perception. My intent was to get it right and to show them. Like I did that to Coach Brown and Fred before I even knew them when they were calling our game between East Burke and Freedom when I was a junior in high school. And I went walking out there with that rule book to Tom because we were hitting. He said, "You get back in that dugout, that rule book. I'll come over there." And because you don't want to do that. I was a kid. I didn't know, and I was trying. And our coach was a really good man, but was not versed in the rules. Okay, and we knew that, and we were just trying to get it right on one of the plays that we're talking about. And Coach Brown came over there and opened the rule book in the dugout and started reading it. And he said, "You guys are right." Went over and told Freedom's coach, called everybody in and said, "This is the result of the play. It says it in the rule book." And you know what it was? It was a hidden ball trick. Most people say that you can't be standing on the dirt. That's not true. You cannot be engaged with the rubber, but you have to be approximately 5 feet away from the rubber. And the Freedom coach said, "No, you got to be on the dirt. You can't be on the dirt." They're like, "No, that's not what the rule book says. It says approximately 5 feet." And that right there is about 8 feet.
Well, and the biggest problem with that rule right there
is left up to interpretation.
Well, the biggest part of that was the word that you said. Approximately. But that's not a definite.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But they're not going to bring a tape measure.
I know, but you know what I'm
Tom
saying.
Went out to his and Fred's credit. Now, you know Fred.
Yeah.
Fred goes out there and takes 2 giant steps, which is 3-6. Which is 2, 6 feet. 3 mm-hmm. feet on the step. They coach football, so they're not stepping off. Well, guess what? Fred's like, "You guys aren't out. Go back."
There you go. I think Wilson summed it up. He said, "Rules are hard in baseball." Brian Huss, good morning to you, my friend. And that was great news that you had the other day. Brian has been dealing with some health issues and got great news.
Well, I'm glad to hear
on
that.
some treatment stuff, so that's wonderful news. Glad to see you here this morning, Brian. I'll tell you the only time that I had an issue with a rule, and I thought I was going to be drawn and quartered in Ashe County at a wrestling match when I was officiating wrestling.
Okay. It's a possibility.
I was in college. I was about 20 years old. I worked for the legendary Steve Gabriel, that legendary wrestler out of Appalachian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Lincoln guy. He ran financial aid, but he was the booker up in that end of the world.
Absolutely.
And I officiated for him. And it came down to a heavyweight match. Back then, they didn't draw to start on a weight class. Everything started with the lightest. The heavyweight was always lightest.
Right.
You're over 40 years ago.
Right.
And there was a rule, and I think this rule has been changed now, but at that time, you were not allowed to slam an opponent. You know, if you whatever kind of move you made, fireman carry, whatever, you could not slam except, and this was to protect health. The person initiating the slam, if your knee hit before your opponent's body hit, it was legal. And that was assuming I can only get so much force if my knee is on the mat.
You could,
okay?
Yeah. It was less of a risk.
This was two heavies, okay? Ooh. And he got him, and he drove him through the mat, but the knee was down. The knee hit first, and the kid that he slammed was knocked the air out of him. All I could do was get there, check the shoulders. They were coming out of the stands because that was an illegal slam. No, only the fans came out of the stand. The coaches knew that was a legal move.
Yeah, that happens.
But you're thinking it's not. And I think they've changed that now. But that was kind of one of those quirky little rules that, as you said, if you didn't know the rule,
exactly.
And you have a lot of fans that don't know the rules.
No, but
Link Pauley used to always tell me I didn't know the football rules.
Right.
That's what he would always tell me. There may have been a few, but not the ones that you always used on me.
Exactly.
Those are the ones I did know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it usually went back to the consistency thing.
Yeah.
But that was one of those things that happened when I was officiating that I never saw it again. I officiated about 4 years and never saw it again. It never happened again. But in that instance, it did happen.
It's crazy.
And
that's crazy.
Because that was back in the day. Yeah. And this has changed too. As an official, you did two things when you checked your wrestlers after the weigh-in. Checked fingernails.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And hair. Couldn't be over the ears, couldn't be on your collar. And if it was, if you were going to wrestle, it had to be cut.
Oh, you went ahead and cut. Yeah, right.
And they carried scissors, and they would be hair that would be cut. Now, that's all changed now.
Yeah.
No facial hair. You had to be clean shaven. When I would officiate, the wrestlers would do this, and I would do this, and they would turn their head for the hair, and that got them approved and able to weigh in for the match. I don't know how much of that stuff's done now. I think it's changed quite a bit, but all rules evolve over time, and that was just one of the ones that did.
Is Bob listening today?
Yes, he is.
Okay, because I can't read. I can only see pictures. I can't read the board.
Yeah.
So I want to tell Bob it's time to go eat lunch again.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I want to do that again. That was fun.
Okay, we can do that. We can definitely do that.
And Bob, do you remember Charlie Miller? He's Burke County guy. I believe he played in Wake Forest. I believe he was part of that team at Wake in '55. He used to. I don't know if you were on with us when we first started, but he used to come. Now this is in '89. He came out and helped our Legion team some. He knew Coach Swink really, really well, and they were tight. I think Coach Miller actually coached Coach Swink some maybe when he was younger. Mm-hmm. So I was going to ask Bob about
Thanks,
that.
Wilson. Jeff Meadows says the detached equipment rule in baseball. Example, catcher picking up ball with mask.
That's a dead ball. I know what he's talking about.
Never seen that one, never heard of that one.
It's crazy. It's like Jeff's right.
Oh, my God. David Lilly, why are you awake? Bob said, I know the name, but not him. David said, so Lanny, you never check for foreign objects in the boots? That was a little different wrestling there, Dave. Little high school wrestling was a little bit different. You didn't have those high-lace boots. You only had the wrestling shoes. And the wrestling shoes, I'll be honest with you, when I was wrestling in high school and when I officiated, I wore them. wrestling shoes are the most comfortable shoes because they just kind of lace up around your foot.
Yeah.
They were really nice, really nice. You also, in high school back in the day, you had to wear tights. You had to wear the wrestling tights. You couldn't have bare legs. Right. You had to wear the tights back in the day. And no, I didn't check for foreign objects like they do on TV where you rub your hand over that. And I didn't pat down the waist area. That was the other place. The officials in championship wrestling would in professional wrestling.
Show me.
Yeah. I've got nothing.
All right, let's wrestle.
I've got nothing.
And then they bring the chair and the table out. But those are in the stands.
I cannot believe of all the baseball that I have spewed this morning, that's the only thing you paid attention to, David Lilly?
Oh, God.
That's amazing.
Oh, God.
You paid attention to that, and I've flexed my baseball knowledge here today.
Did Bob say anything about Charlie? Does he know him?
He said, I know the name, but not him.
Okay, yeah, and Mr. Miller passed away many years ago. And it's been a while. But I figured Bob probably knew who it was. But it seems like Bob, and maybe you can help me with this at some point, just whenever, but it seems like he was part of that Wake Forest team to some degree. So,
David Lilly said, sorry, I just checked in. Then you missed a great baseball show, David. You got to get up earlier. Bob said he's good anytime.
And Dave,
thank you, Wilson.
I'll shoot you a message, Dave. We're going to start working on the ball field here locally, and just want some input from you and just some ideas. I got some pictures and things. We're going to try to. It's a work in progress, and of course, when COVID hit, we were getting things lined up and had some things going, and then of course, funds and everything got diverted and all these things. But we're going to try to start, implementing stages and working with Duke Power on some things, as far as the lines on the field and things like that.
Before we go,
it's really neat. It's really neat.
Anybody, and you may know this, what year was the grandstand tore down?
I believe it was in '96, and the reason I say that is because I came to work at Maiden in August of '96 for football season, because I thought I was going to be working at Ford, and then Alan Wittenberg ended up getting the job that I thought I was going to get, and so I didn't have a place. And then Miss Long, who was the principal, Debbie Long, who was the principal at Maiden, worked with my dad at Ford for a long time. Mike McCree called over there and said, "Hey, this kid really needs a place to work," because I was getting ready to go back and just work in the factory, right, for a little while until I found a teaching, some kind of education job, because there weren't a lot of openings. And so, and I'm getting to the point, okay. So I came over for my interview, and I got lost on the way to Maiden because I'd never been here except on a bus to East Burke one time to play a non-conference basketball game. And this 4321 was built. So I got lost. I told Miss Long, I said, "I'm so sorry." She's like, "Honey, don't worry about it. First time I came here, I got lost. That's okay." Because he had that one-lane bridge and, all that coming through. And I thought, this can't be going to – I turned around, went back.
West Maid Road.
Right. I was like, oh, my God. But anyway, so I met Coach Parker that day, and he drove me around the golf cart, and he was talking about the history of the town and the football and this kind of thing, just, helped me understand. And so on my way out, I drove and took a left instead of going up to the right, to the top of school and taking a right to Old High School. I drove and took a left, and I went down, and you could see where they had dismantled and I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was the old grandstand.
I remember it.
You can still see the infield. Up until a couple of years ago, you still see the outline of the infield. But since then, I've started seeding and sowing and just doing minor things to get, things prepped for it, and practicing football and, that kind of thing, soccer and all that stuff on it, just to get the field back in use.
Wilson, it's the old Sigmund Field right below Carolina. Carolina Meals.
Yeah, and if we're not friends on Facebook, we need, and if you're, whether you're on, maybe your wife, whatever.
Wilson's on.
Okay, so what we can, obviously, right. So what we can do is I can send you, or I can share a couple of those pictures with you, and then that may be, that way you may have some familiarity with it. But it was really neat. It's a part of the Carolina League, back in the, long time ago when Mills had teams. And, so what we're going to try to do is, the goal is eventually to bring a team to town, whether it be a college team or, like a summer team or something like that, where we do housing for players. But we're still in the early stages, so there's got to be some give and take. And, the town is interested in, the concept of it. We just got to figure out how to work it. And the problem is, I'm going to, and I can say this now, but I'm going to run for council again. So things may appear hairy, but I've been, in discussion with the town for years on this. And we want to try to do things to bring, more to the community and more to people. It's not they're doing all this for me type thing. It's step by step and very transparent. So,
you good next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that'll be the week
And
before
what about
the 4th.
tomorrow? I've actually got some time in the morning.
I'll let you know later today.
Yep. Okay.
That may be a possibility.
Okay.
Have a great day, everybody. Try to stay dry. See you.
Bye, guys.